Hello and welcome to Mann's Model Moments. Now of course, at this time of year we are all eagerly awaiting news of the new releases from model manufacturers, and they started early for 2025, with ICM getting an early head start before the year had even begun, which I covered in a live stream that I'll link here if you've not already seen that. Today we're continuing with the Ukrainian theme by looking at Miniart's releases as shown in their new 2025 catalogue available on their website, which I'll link below in the video description. In keeping with prior videos, I'll be looking at brand new tools first, then kits with new parts, and then new schemes or reboxings last. So without further ado, let's get cracking. First up is right up my alley, being a 1/48 scale Focke-Wulf 190 D9. I really like this aircraft, and following the lauded P-47D last year, this is something that I definitely have my eye on. Miniart have traditionally been known for their extremely detailed and somewhat overcomplicated vehicle kits, but their recent foray into 1/48 aircraft has produced some extremely nice looking kits. We do have some CAD renders of the aircraft, as well as the nice box art, and unless they do something really odd, I'm sure this will be very well received. It is listed as a basic kit, but as Miniart's basic kits are better than many other super detailed kits, I don't think that's an issue, and I actually see these so-called basic kits as having a wider appeal than their advanced series, since not everyone wants to spend the additional time with all the added extras that these entail. Moving to vehicles, we get a brand new Rappenschlepper, also known as the Rappenschlepper Ost or RSO. This was a prime mover made specifically to deal with terrain on the Eastern Front, although it rapidly became popular and used for all kinds of general duties. Miniart's kit is 1/35th scale and seems to have a complete engine and interior as usual, but interestingly they have opted for length and link tracks here, which I welcome, but I'm not sure some die-hard AFE modelers will agree with. I think this might actually be a good entry point to Miniart armour, since the RSO is quite a small vehicle, and the length and link tracks will be much easier than Miniart's usual multi-piece single link affairs. It also offers a bunch of build options depending on how you want to display that included detail, and also the rear bed, which also opens up its use in a host of dioramas. Miniart is well known for its figure range, and 2025 has a strong set of releases here too. Starting off with 1/16th scale here, we have 3 figures from the various Macedonian wars of the 3rd century BC. The first of these is a Macedonian guards officer, who you might be forgiven for mistaking for a Roman legionary, as the armour, underclothes and helmet look very much that way, but one shouldn't forget that the Roman Empire adapted and absorbed other cultures, distilling best practice from others. This figure represents the state of the art following Alexander the Great's reign, and you can see the ancient Greek origins with the greaves, shield and kopis style sword. It's an interesting and colourful piece, and I'm sure figure painters will be able to make it look amazing. The second figure in 1/16th scale is the Libyan warrior, who also bears some distinctly Roman features, particularly in the shield, helmet and sword design. Once again, this style of armour and weaponry was pretty much state of the art for the period and region, so the similarities are unsurprising when you think about it. As for why Libya, well, that term in the 3rd century BC was used for the entire northern region of Africa, and sometimes for the entire continent, or at least what was known of it at the time. As Thebes had a turbulent history with Macedonia rejecting their mantle several times, these 2 figures so far make perfect sense. Once again, these will be an interesting diversion for a modeller, or ideal for all you figure painters out there, or of course if you have a historical interest in the period. The third, and least pronounceable of the 3rd century BC set is the Epirote Phalangite. The Epirote kingdom itself was a Hellenistic set of colonies on the north of the Greek world, in the Balkans where current-day Algeria is, with the Phalangite being an individual member of a phalanx in the army. These guys had smaller shields than the Greek hoplites, and they were hung around their necks to keep both hands free to wield their long pike-like spears, which is exactly what this guy is doing. Like the other figures, a welcome addition for figure painters and history buffs alike. Now moving on to 1/35th scale and rather more recent conflicts, we have 2 US sets. the first being a set of 4 World War II US infantry tank riders. We only have box art for these at the moment, but the poses are nice and varied, they look natural, and I'm sure they'll find their way into many dioramas in the future. The second set are also World War II US tank riders, but these are airborne troops. This makes a lot of sense too, since airborne troops had little means of transport other than Shanks's pony once airdropped into theatre, so riding on a tank was a good alternative. They're distinct from the GIs of the prior set, and once again ideal for many diorama settings. Staying with the Allies, we also have a British World War II set, this being titled as a tank repair crew, but as 2 of them are cleaning the barrel, I'm sure that these could be used in many settings. The other 2 have spanners and could be used for repairing almost any vehicle, so once again this is a very versatile set that I can see being very popular. We then have 2 sets which Scalemates lists as kits with new parts, but having looked at these I can't identify the figures as any of their pre-existing ones, so I'm going to say that these are new tools unless someone can point to them being released earlier in other sets. The first of them is an Allied driver set, comprising of 1 British, 1 US and 2 Soviet drivers in various poses. The second set is German officers and drivers, featuring 2 drivers and 2 officers. One of these looks a little like the one in the German Soldiers in Cafe set, or maybe the German Soldiers at Rest Special Edition, but I'm not convinced they are the same sculpt. Let me know if you have any other information on that in the comments below. Moving to civilians, which Miniart have been very good at representing, we have 2 sets, both containing 2 figures and some accessories. The first of these is the construction workers, together with various bricks and a brick trolley. These are quite generic and could probably be used in a diorama of almost any period from the late 1900s to the 1950s, once again broadening their potential use, though I suspect the majority might be used in World War II settings. The second set are the paint workers, who are equipped with brushes and ladders. Once again, these are non-specific enough in their dress to cover a broad period at the start of the 20th century. Moving over to accessories, in 1/24 scale we have a set of 1930s to 1950s fuel drums. This is the second set of these, the former being German type barrels, this one is for other nationalities. Not perhaps the most exciting product, but welcome to add some interest to 1/24 scale vignettes and dioramas. To round off all of this, we have our last new tool, a set of drinks, which seems appropriate to polish these off with. These are in 1/35 scale and are a number of different bottle types of wines and spirits, together with crates to transport them, another ideal addition for diorama builders. In kits with new parts, I'm starting off with the Junkers F-13 early production float plane, which adds floats to last year's brand new F-13. This is a really odd design for an aircraft with its corrugated skin and open cockpit, and the addition of floats to it makes it even stranger still, which makes it a bit more appealing from a personal point of view. If the conventional version is more your thing, however, Miniart also have a mid-production version of this aircraft this year too. I'm not sure what the differences are between this and the 2023 early production aircraft, but the F-13 had a lot of different manufacturing variants, incorporating no less than 6 different engines, both inline and radials, plus other changes such as hollow metal props instead of the earlier laminated wooden pieces. As such, we'll need to wait for the release to see exactly what has changed for this boxing. The P-47D Razorback in 1/48 scale is next. Scalemates have this categorised as a completely new tool, but I can't imagine that there is no commonality between this and the prior bubble top version released last year, so I'm including it here. My apologies to Miniart if it is indeed a completely separate tooling, but I think the economics of that just wouldn't work. This will be a welcome addition to all of those that prefer the earlier version of the Jug, though I prefer the cleaner lines of the bubble top myself. Speaking of the bubble top, we have the advanced version of the P-47D 26RA kit to add to Miniart's growing P-47 collection, as they are currently giving us 9 variants, 5 basic kits and 4 advanced kits. It should be noted, however, that the difference between some of these variants is very small. For example, the 25RE, which was a prior advanced kit of this subject, varies only in having a Hamilton standard propeller instead of the Curtiss electric propeller of the new kit. I'm not sure an entire new boxing is justified with just these tiny differences. Moving to 1/35th scale armour, we have two additions to the SD-KFZ 234 range, based on last year's new tool. The first of these is a late version of the 234-1 to complement the early version of this model released before. Once again, I'm unsure what the differences were in the early and late models of the 234/1 version of this armoured car, so we'll need to look to the release for those kind of details. The second is a late war what-if 3-cannon or drilling version of the turret based on the MG-151/20 aircraft cannon. Whether or not this was actually ever employed on a 234 chassis I don't know, but it does look cool, though not as much so as the Puma in my opinion. We briefly then move on to Allied World War II armour for a couple of Stuarts, both under different national service. The first of these is a British Honey with sun shields for all of you Africa campaign fans out there. This is based on the full interior kit released as a new tool last year, of course, and it's a nice one since you get some different camo options with this. The second release is the same Stuart, but as a captured Japanese vehicle together with a Japanese tank crew. This further pushes the envelope for camo schemes, and it also appears from the box art that there are different parts for the Japanese flag in position of the deleted Browning Cupola Turret MG. Now when I saw the new RSO tooling, the first thing I thought is, I bet they do a Pack 40 version later on. And I didn't have to wait long because after just 5 pages we get a double page spread of exactly that. I mentioned the RSO was successful and popular on the Eastern Front, and there was little more the German army liked to do than throw an anti-tank gun on something to make a cheap tank destroyer. I really like this, and it would definitely be the version I'd go for, though it must have been terrifying to actually crew one of these in Russia, since it was almost completely unarmoured, so ambush and speed would be your defence. Not my idea of a good time. For the kit you seem to get plenty of options here too, and I can imagine this would make a fantastic Eastern Front diorama. Sticking with the RSO for a moment, we also have a mid-production variant coming out for this vehicle, which did undergo various changes as demand outstripped Steyer's production capacity, and manufacturing was mainly undertaken by Graf & Stift, KHD and Auto Union. As for some of the other kits I've mentioned, I don't know the specifics of what is different between early and mid-production vehicles here, since they are both the initial steel-cabbed versions and not the 02 and 03 with canvas soft tops. Now staying with the Wehrmacht and transport, we then get a couple of variations of the German 3-ton truck released last year. The first is a high-top canvas body, mid-production vehicle that was used in many theatres. The second is the L701 cab type of this in civilian service, this featuring previously on their ambulance boxing of it in 2024. I'm not sure if this actually has new parts or it's just the scheme, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt this time. Similarly, the Iraqi T-55 AL-4/Enigma Polish base is probably very close to the 2024 kit of the same tank on the Soviet-made base, with a few small details to indicate the production centre differences. Along a similar vein is the Czechoslovak-produced late-type T-34/85, based on the 2020 tooling that's had a number of iterations since its release. Now before we move to new boxings of prior kits, we have 2 more pieces of German armour, but this time in 1/72nd scale. These are both versions of the Stug 3 which was released in 2023. The first of these is the Alfs G, which was also the version first released, but this is the last production version from the Alket Trackworks, which has a different Cupola MG mount. The second is the upgunned STU-H-42 artillery version of the vehicle, complete with side skirts. Now these aren't huge differences, but I'm sure that there are modelers out there who will welcome these little kits. In new boxings, Miniart have introduced a new diorama package, something they call a big set. This new one is called Kharkiv 1943 and features an injection moulded cobblestone base with tramline, their tram and Stug 3 kits, German tank rider figures and some street accessories, essentially all, or at least most, of what you need for a full diorama. I think this is quite a neat idea, and Miniart are well positioned to do this with their range of vehicles, figures and accessories. The Rail Crossing set is a collection of some of their individual rail-themed accessories all in one box, which makes it ideal for anyone wanting to have that kind of setting in a diorama without having to buy all the individual sets. French concrete road signs north and east follows on from their Normandy set and seems to be exactly the same plastic with a different set of decals, which makes perfect sense of course. So that's the lineup for Miniart for 2025. I'd love to hear what you guys think of it. There's certainly several things in there that I've got my eyes on, so please let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below, and then we'll look to see what Airfix has for us next. That's all for this instalment of Mann's Model Moments. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button, subscribe to the channel for more like it, and share this video with others you think would also enjoy it. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, and if you're feeling generous then I also have a Patreon, which is absolutely the best way of helping me to grow the channel and produce more content like this. With that, I hope you have plenty of modelling moments of your own, and I look forward to welcoming you on the next video.